Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Michigan Department of Transportation's virtual public meeting for the I-94 Modernization Project. I am Nate Ford, Director of Public Engagement for H&TB and a member of the I-94 project team. Of course, we would prefer to be with you in person, but safety is our priority, and this format, though it has limitations, keeps everyone safe. The purpose of our meeting is to share information and answer your questions about the Berners Street, Cadillac Avenue, and Frontenac Street bridges that MDOT will be rebuilding starting this February through fall of 2021. The presentation, information on the I-94 modernization project overall, and on these three bridges, including upcoming demolition and construction schedules, detour routes, and other details. This work is part of the ongoing Advanced Bridges program to rebuild the bridges over I-94 that are in the poorest condition in advance of rebuilding the freeway. The first 25 minutes of this 1-hour meeting will be devoted to the project presentation. The remainder of the meeting, we will respond to your questions. This meeting will be recorded, and the recordings will be posted on the I-94 website at i94detroit.org. Please note, all attendees will be muted until we reach the Q&A segment. To answer a question at that time, to ask a question at that time, you will simply click the raise hand icon in the lower left of your screen. Or if you called in, press *9 to raise your hand. Before I move on, I would appreciate if everyone who joined by computer would take 2 minutes to complete our Title VI survey. The poll function should pop up on your screen. The survey is required as part of the Title VI Civil Rights Act of 1964 and helps us assess our outreach efforts. Please take a few minutes to complete the survey, and then we'll get started. Now I would like to introduce Terry Stepanski, Senior Project Manager for the I-94 project, to start the presentation. Terry?
Thank you, Nate. As was just mentioned, this public meeting is related to the Frontenac, Burns, and Cadillac bridges, and that's really what we'll be focusing on. But I always like to take the opportunity of a public meeting to talk about the overall project. And these three bridges, Burns, Frontenac, and Cadillac, along with several other advanced bridges, are all part of the I-94 project. So before we jump right into the specifics about Burns, Frontenac, and Cadillac, I just want to talk about the I-94 modernization project and the entire limits of the project and the scope of the work. So this slide that we have here shows the entire project. This is 6.7 miles of freeway reconstruction. We call it the I-94 modernization project. And what we're proposing to do along this stretch of freeway, it's 7 miles long, and we're proposing to widen the freeway, add 1 lane in each direction to increase capacity, and we'll be reconstructing all the bridges along the corridor. There's about 70 bridges along the corridor that we'll be working on. We're going to be working on the service drives also to facilitate movement east and west up on top along the freeway. And we've got drainage improvements to eliminate any potential flooding that has occurred. But one of the main points about this project is it's really modernization is what we call it, but that involves safety. There's a lot of safety improvements that I'll be talking about a little bit more as part of this project. This was a state-of-the-art freeway back in the 1950s. It was built in the 50s, and it served the residents of Michigan well, but it is now the standards are outmoded, and we can improve on the freeway to really increase the safety. There's more crashes that occur in this stretch of freeway than really should be happening. So there's a variety of things we're doing to improve the safety. We're improving the drainage. We're connecting the communities, and I'll talk a little bit about that too. And we're working on the drainage. We're working on the ramps, the entrance ramps and exit ramps along the corridor. And we're improving the shoulder widths so people have refuge, places to get off if need be for emergencies. There's currently narrow shoulders on both sides of the freeway. And one of the main features is we're reconstructing the Lodge Freeway with I-94. There's left-hand entrances and exits there, but it'll be completely reconstructed to make that movement smoother, so the traffic can move from I-94 to the Lodge a lot smoother without any backups, and that'll be a safer movement too. So this diagram does have a lot of information on it. You'll see on the very top we define segment 1, segment 2, and segment 3. And back during an engineering report phase, we determined that we worked on how to best build this freeway, because one of the things we want to do is we know we want to build it as efficiently as possible, but we also want to reduce impacts to the motoring public, to the residents, and as we build it. So that was a main concern is how are we going to build this and minimize impacts and build it as efficiently as possible. Well, one of the things that we came up with is we wanted to make as much improvement as we could initially. And so we decided that the best way to build the freeway would be starting at segment 3 on the eastern end of the project. The entire project is very complex. Whenever you're reconstructing a freeway in an urban environment, there's all kinds of things. There's real estate issues that we have to deal with. There's the utilities all over the corridor that we have to work with. The bridges are in poor shape. There's bridge reconstruction. There's railroads crossing the corridor. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot of work here. But we thought that even though the entire project is very complex, segment 3 is the area that we could get the biggest bang for our buck. And we've proposing now to start at segment 3 and then move to segment 2 and segment 1. So, and then we've got segment 3 broken down in 2 construction packages. And those are those lines up towards the bottom of the graphic. We're proposing to construct a section from Burns Street to Barrett Street starting in 2023, and that'll go to 2026. And then we'll move to package 2, work on that from November of 2025 to May of 2028. And then on to package 3, that's the I-94, I-75 interchange from November of 2026 to November 2028. And then we'll jump over to the end of the project and work on package 4 from November 2028 to November 2030, and then back to work on the very complicated I-94, I-75, or I-94 M10 interchange. And that'll complete the project in 2023. So one of the things that we heard as we were working on the project is increase connectivity. And on the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about the connectivity and what we're doing. So next slide, please. So what we have here is the rendering of the existing freeway, and it shows the grassy slopes. And one of the things that we heard from stakeholders is that they understand the need to improve the freeway, but there was a concern that the original freeway cut through communities, it separated areas, it was difficult to cross, and that it was very important that we did whatever we could do to minimize the footprint, provide the capacity, and certainly make the road safer, but don't increase the footprint and minimize the impacts to the area as much as possible. When we develop plans, as we developing preliminary plans for the project, we focused on that very, very strongly. And so one of the things, how we're going to do that is by constructing retaining walls along each side of the road. And you can see the previous rendering showed 3 lanes in each direction. There was actually narrow shoulders on each side. And what we're doing is building these vertical retaining walls on each side, excavating the earth, and that'll give us enough room to add the lanes, add the wider shoulders. And from a bird's eye view, we really aren't making the footprint any bigger than it was originally. We're just using that same footprint in a more efficient manner. And one of the things that we're talking about stakeholders, it was so important to get stakeholder comments. We've been at this project a long time, and one of the things we heard was that we needed to improve connectivity. So this project does add some bridges to the project, and we've added bridges we call complete street bridges that will accommodate pedestrians, motorists, and bicyclists, non-motorized traffic also. And we were very cognizant of the fact that we had to do that, or we wanted to do that actually, to reconnect and respond to stakeholder comments. So on the next slide, we show that MDOT's been at this a long time. This is only a small segment of the entire project. And it shows starting of 2015 with the advanced bridges. And we've really been at this project since it's been in the 1990s. We were doing work on it. And we did have a conceptual plan back in the 1990s. But as we developed, updated our plans and met with stakeholders and talked to people, we realized that maybe we could improve on the conceptual plan that we originally developed. So we continued our stakeholder engagement, we took comments, and we responded to those comments by modifying the plan. Our current plan includes greater connectivity. It improved on the service roads. At one time, we had continuous service roads throughout the entire corridor. We've modified those to only have those service roads where we need them, and have a more neighborhood area along the freeway where that is most fitting. And that fits in with the mayor's walkable community type concept. So we've made those changes, and it really did. There was a lot of positive response from the public as a result of those changes. At one time, we had a lot of opposition to I-94, but as a result of listening to the public, making changes, and responding, this is an improved project that really fits into the community and meets the needs of the community. So I'll just briefly talk about this timeline here that we've been working on advanced bridges, and these three bridges, Burns, Frontenac, and Cadillac, are part of the advanced bridges. And that fits into the entire project in that I mentioned the segments, segment 1, segment 2, and segment 3. So we're beginning that process, but we knew that there were bridges along the corridor that were in poor condition that needed to be reconstructed prior to starting on the entire corridor. So these three bridges are part of the advanced bridge stage that we started back in around 2014 and 2015. And then we moved on and had stakeholder engagement and had workshops with the city of Detroit and collaborated with them on a variety of issues and modified our bridges to fit their local streets. And then we also worked very closely with the Federal Highway Administration. They're actually providing right around 80% of the funding for this project, and the state is providing 20% of the funding, with really no funding coming from the city of Detroit or contributing from the city of Detroit. It's all state and federal funding to build the project. But anyway, the federal government said, MDOT, yes, you are doing the right thing by listening to the public and modifying the project where it's necessary or where improvements could be made. But you have to perform a study, supplemental environmental impact statement, to look at any impacts and how to mitigate any impacts. And so we went through that study, and we recently completed that back in June of 2020. And now we have the approval to move forward with the subsequent phases of the project, which include design, right-of-way acquisition, design, and construction. So that's where we're beginning this main section of segment 3 in 2023. We're just starting with the final design of that now. So and onward towards construction all the way to completion in 2033. Now we'll talk a little bit about the advanced bridges. I just wanted to mention, this is some of the stakeholder engagement that I mentioned previously, that we do have this collaboration with the city, and the city felt that it's important that the bridges over I-94 provide this connectivity and meet the needs of residents. So as you see, we do have bike lanes where applicable, and wider sidewalks and accommodating vehicles, but they're not big wide bridges either, where they're not necessary, or they're the right size to fit the approaching roads. So we've had numerous discussions with stakeholders on that, so we certainly have it right. Yeah, that's about it on that slide. Next, please. And what some other things I mentioned: the wider sidewalks, bike lanes, and to blending into the community. And we do have decorative lighting up and down the corridor. You'll be seeing more and more of that as we move forward. And another interesting thing, even on the aesthetics, we had a lot of stakeholder engagement workshops to seek input from the public just on how things should look. And an interesting component of that is this constellation pattern that you'll see on the walls of the bridges, and also when we build the retaining walls throughout the corridor, that they're in the shape of the stars, and that does represent the navigation that was used by the Underground Railroad, the stellar navigation for Underground Railroads. So it's interesting. Just a little backstory on where that came from. So with that, we'll talk a little bit more about the details of the three bridges: Burns, Frontenac, and Cadillac. And I'll turn it over to Victor Judnick, our construction engineer, that'll be out working out there and build these three bridges.
Thank you, Terry. Good evening, everyone. We are going to work, and we're getting a very early start on the three bridges, as Terry had mentioned. Frontenac, Burns, and Cadillac, they're all over I-94. I'll just take a quick moment to mention the three bridges we're wrapping up from last year, which would be Milwaukee Avenue over I-75, East Grand Boulevard over I-94, and Mount Elliott over 94. All three of those bridges will be open sometime this March. So that's good news. We're starting early with the new three bridges. The reasons we have to close those bridges now is because we're demoing Frontenac this weekend. We are going to be removing Burns next weekend, the following weekend, and we have a tentative date of the weekend of March 12th. So right now we're checking for asbestos. It has to be removed prior to demo. We have to take lights down. We have to pull fencing. We're videotaping sewers. We're videotaping buildings. We're putting in vibration monitoring devices. We're starting the fabrication of the beams of the new bridges that will be wrapping up in November. So the goal is we would be open the traffic by Thanksgiving. And we hope to get there with these new three bridges, open the existing bridges that we're still working on in March. Olivia, can you go to the next slide, please? Now, this is a cross section. So this is a slice of the bridges, what they look like existing and what they look like in the future. And as Terry had said, this is complete streets. This is where we've optimized, working with the city of Detroit, looking at keeping the throughput of vehicles. We're not reducing vehicle traffic, but we're optimizing the space. So we're adding bike lanes, we're widening the sidewalks, and the bridges are friendlier for bikes, pedestrians, and vehicles. So I'm going to pass to our traffic expert, Mark Smith, who's going to give us a nice background on all the detouring that's going to be happening this year all around town. Go ahead, Mark.
Thanks, Victor. Yes, as Victor said, my name is Mark Smith, and I'm with HNTB on the I-94 project. As Victor mentioned, all three of these bridges will be closed for the summer, a full closure with detours for both pedestrians and vehicular traffic. There will be out there in advance of the closures, turn-by-turn guidance for detouring traffic around those, and that is already set up and in place. For the Frontenac Bridge closure, the detour that we have in place for both pedestrians and vehicular traffic is to use Concord, which is a bridge that we just recently constructed last year. In addition to the closure of Frontenac, the entrance ramp from Van Dyke to westbound I-94 will also need to be closed. And the reason for this closure is while we're working on the bridges on I-94, we're making changes, so widening the shoulders and shifting traffic around to be able to maintain 3 lanes during all peak hours of travel. There will be some lane closures during off-peak times or during the weekends, but during your morning and afternoon commutes to and from work, there will be 3 lanes of traffic always open. And so with that, some ramps will be affected to be able to maintain the traffic. So for the detour for that ramp closure, traffic that would be entering at Van Dyke would be detoured to the east along Harper, and they could enter I-94 at the Gratiot interchange. For the Burns Bridge closure, again, the pedestrian traffic will be detoured to the west, and they will use the Van Dyke Bridge to cross I-94. For northbound traffic, which is the red arrow there, we have them detoured over to Van Dyke, and the southbound traffic, the blue arrow there, we have them detoured over to McClellan. Both bridges would obviously be open for northbound and southbound traffic. The detour signing is just placed in a way so to eliminate left turns for the traffic crossing I-94. With the Burns Bridge closure, there is another entrance ramp to I-94 impacted by this. This is the eastbound I-94 entrance ramp from Van Dyke. And the detour we have in place for this ramp would be to take Harper to the east, and then you could enter the freeway at the Connor interchange. For the Cadillac Bridge, again, the orange arrow here is showing the pedestrian detour, which would use the Gratiot Bridge, and the northbound detour for vehicles would use the Gratiot Bridge, and southbound detour would use the French Road Bridge. Along with the closure at Gratiot, or at Cadillac, there is several ramps that are impacted. So I'll kind of just walk through them, traveling on the eastbound side first of I-94. So as you're approaching the Cadillac Bridge, the eastbound I-94 exit ramp to Gratiot, as well as the eastbound I-94 exit ramp to French Road would both be closed. And traffic trying to exit the freeway at these ramps would be detoured to the Connor interchange, and then up to the north to use Harper to get back to French or Gratiot. On the eastbound side as well, there will be a closure of the eastbound entrance ramp from Gratiot. This traffic would be detoured along Harper and would be directed to use the French Road and the entrance ramp there. On the westbound side, the westbound I-94 entrance ramp from French will be closed, and that traffic is detoured over to the Gratiot entrance ramp to enter the freeway. One more ramp closure on the westbound side, the westbound I-94 exit ramp to Gratiot. And as you can see, the black arrow there, that traffic would be detoured to use the Van Dyke exit ramp and then come back to the east along Harper to get back to Gratiot. Along with the other closures, as Victor mentioned, the bridge demolition, in this weekend and the following weekends, and as well as setting bridge beams later this summer, the freeway will need to be closed. The freeway closure for these bridges will be between I-75 and Connor, with a posted detour route using I-75 to Gratiot and up to 8 Mile. It's important to note that traffic on the east side or coming into the project on westbound I-94 would have access all the way down to the Connor interchange, for local traffic. But the detour is signed up at 8 Mile really just to catch any, traffic that is really just trying to get through the corridor. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Nate, who will lead us through the question and answering session.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, presenters. Now we will answer questions that you may have. To ask a question, you will simply click the raise hand icon in the lower left of your screen. Or if you called in, press *9 to raise your hand. I will call your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number so that you can verbally ask your question. Please make sure that your microphone is working and that you are unmuted. In addition, if there's also a QA function in the bottom center of your screen if you would like to submit questions in writing. We understand that this is a virtual meeting. We cannot have the typical one-on-one conversations that we would love to have in person. So with that, we'll go ahead and take the first question. And I believe we have a hand up. Ms. Lily Johnson, can you release Ms. Johnson? Thank you, Olivia. Lily Johnson? Hello? Hello, Lily Johnson?
No, I don't have a question. I put the wrong button.
Oh, okay. All right. Do we have any questions?
What are you doing, Jeff?
Olivia, can you mute Lily Johnson, please? Thank you. Do we have any questions? Again, if you have a question and you'd like to just submit it via the chat, please go to the Q&A icon in the center of your screen, bottom center of your screen, to submit your question in writing, or you can use the chat feature to submit your question in writing. And we have our first question from Danny to all the panelists. French Road service to St. Jean, what year are you going? What year are you going under the railroad tracks? Terry, you want to kick off our question and answer segment
I think
with that answer?
that portion would be part of segment 3, first package. So that work would start under construction somewhere after 2024. So somewhere in that time frame, 2024 to 2026.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Terry. All right. And thank you, Jason. We appreciate your kind words, and we look forward to working with you and you following the progress of the project as well. All right. If I could remind those who have not completed the survey, if you would just take a couple moments to complete the survey that you received at the beginning of the presentation, we would appreciate that. Again, it's very helpful for us, as it is a critical, wonderful tool to help assess and assist with our outreach efforts now and into the future. So if you haven't already, please take a couple minutes and complete the survey. If you have no questions, could you at least share with us, is there any information that we may have omitted that you would like to hear about? If there's any questions, please. We're here to answer your questions. regarding the I-94 modernization project, specifically the Frontenac, Cadillac, and Burns bridge work that is slated to commence in the upcoming weeks.
Nate, it seems like we've done a pretty solid job at presenting.
Wow,
the
I
project.
think we've just been, I think we, is the presentation that good that we answered all the questions? Huh?
Yep.
Was there a slide of context?
Yeah, we're gonna put that up. As a matter of fact, we can just put that up now. We could talk through that while our audience. Okay, we have a question, and I'll get to that. Those contacts. Is there any chance the project can be completed before 2033? Terry, that has your name written all over it.
You betcha, and I'm glad that question was asked, because that's usually part of any presentation that I give. Is we get those comments from people saying, why is it taking so long? It didn't take that long to build it originally. So yeah, and the reason for that, first of all, to answer your question, yes, although we push the project out till 2033, we do have ways, and we've got a plan in our back pocket to build it sooner if funding becomes available. And that's really, there's two things that drive the project. One that I mentioned, that we do have to maintain mobility. We certainly can't shut down this corridor for an extended period of time. We need, it's a vital commercial corridor, and so we have to maintain mobility. That always takes a little bit longer. And but the second thing is, this is a pay-as-you-go project. So we've got funding set aside for certain years, and it is a costly project to do something like this. So as the funds come in, we do the work that we can do with the funds available. So that's really between mobility and funding is the two constraints, because we certainly do have the ability to build it faster if the money becomes available, and there's some things we can do to maintain that mobility also. So that's it, and we certainly would like to. Now, and as our top leadership at MDOT said, we're well aware nobody really wants to experience construction on I-94 for any longer than what's necessary, and we're aware of that, and we'll do everything we can to expedite the construction where possible.
Right, thank you, Terry. Next question, who maintains the landscaping on the new bridges so that they continue to look nice? Victor, wanna take that?
We have a situation where we need to make sure the landscape on the bridges survives, and we have a 2-year watering and cultivating period. And then that will pass to the city of Detroit once we're complete. And I believe September, on Gratiot itself, in September of this year, we would be handing that over to the city of Detroit to maintain. And those are specially selected hardy plants to survive the winters and the salts, and they were specially chosen because they are very hardy plants.
Okay. All right, I'll have another question. Thank you, Joanne. If there are any changes, will we be notified before the changes are made? I can take that one. Absolutely. We pride ourselves on I think, a very robust engagement. Communication is at the heart and center of the MDOT project team, and we want to make sure that we continue that communication, including any modifications, any changes that will take place. We want to make sure that we get that out to the public and others and all stakeholders with that. Terry, you want to add anything to that?
No, that's the response is that we do have a conceptual plan that we developed. It's been approved by Federal Highway Administration. And, but there's always changes that occur. We're hoping no major changes, but we will be, as Nate said, having public engagement and information sessions throughout the process. So we will be, we want to collaborate and discuss, well, I should say, keep our communication going throughout the construction project.
Absolutely. And to show you how much we mean by keeping that communication open and transparent and ongoing, I have reached if there are any issues that come up throughout the project. If you have any questions, please. Victor Jagnick is here, highlighted on the screen, is our senior resident engineer at HNTB. And Victor will usually is on site, but is very accessible and always available to answer any resident questions, any questions that come up regarding the project. And Victor has graciously shared his information, so I'd like to share that information with you. Victor can be reached, Victor Judnick can be reached at 248-249-1084. Again, that's Victor Judnick, Project Ombudsman, 248-249-1084, mobile, or by email at vjudnick@htb.com. Again, that's vjudnick, VJUDNIC @htb.com. Another contact that will be amenable and accessible throughout the project is Andrea Wilcox. And Andrea can be reached at 313-965-6350. And Andrea is with MDOT, and we'll be working alongside of Victor to make sure and ensure that the project goes as planned and to mitigate any issues that may occur in the field. So again, that's Andrea Wilcox at 313-965-6350, or she can be reached at Wilcox A2, that's WILCOX capital A2 at michigan.gov. Okay. How are these advanced bridges selected? Rob, that has your name written all over it. Excuse me, Terry, that has your name written all over it again.
Yeah, sure. One of the things when we began the early development of the project, we broke it down into how to best build it, and I mentioned that during my portion of the presentation. But one thing that's going on, I mean, it's evident that along the corridor, these bridges have been around for a long time, the 67 plus bridges along the corridor. So we do have a very active inspection process, and inspection program. So we got our inspectors going out and looking at these bridges on a regular basis. So they're monitoring the bridges, and it's based on their inspection reports that determines if a bridge becomes an advanced bridge. So right from the start, back in 2014, we put together a prioritized list of advanced bridges based on their condition. These were listed in poor condition, and so we put them on the list that they really couldn't wait, that we needed to get to these bridges sooner than later. So in summary, that as a summary answer, based on their condition, that was determined from inspection reports. And we're continuing to monitor the bridges. We just had a team meeting a couple days ago where we sat down with the bridge inspectors together with project staff to determine if anything has changed, if there's anything we have to do, either maintenance work to keep the bridge in good shape and in acceptable shape till we get to reconstruct it, or if we have to do other work, so take other actions to make sure that the bridges are safe.
Thank you for that, Terry. All right, do we have any other questions? And we have one more question that just rolled in. Will freeway construction impact public transportation? If so, how will MDOT handle that? Terry?
Sure.
Repeat that question. Will freeway construction impact public transportation?
And we do work closely with the DDOT and SMART. We do work with those agencies to make sure during our bridge construction, if there's any change in routes necessary, we work and we coordinate that. So those are on the bridges. We work with those agencies, and we do what we can to make sure that the routes we minimize the disruption to their routes. So on the larger picture, one of the things that we did, and this was part of our study quite a while ago, we thought, well, how will this impact public transportation, or how does this project affect transit? And at one time, the continuous service roads were thought that would be used by transit to facilitate transit, public transportation. And during our meetings and our discussions with DDOT and SMART, the response that we have is that the service roads really aren't the routes that they would be using either in the future. So there's really no impact there. Then we modified our service roads accordingly. There was a variety of reasons, but transit was one of them, that the transit officials notified us that the service roads really wouldn't be the roads that would serve their customers the best. And the freeway itself is used, we heard, for deadhead movements, for the buses to get back to where they came from. So that's something that we have to be aware of, and we're looking at as we move towards the main construction of the freeway, is to make sure that that movement can take place for the buses. They can get back to the start of their routes to do whatever they do. So the deadheaded movements are something that we're looking at. But another thing that we're doing also is we're working with local agencies and to find out how we can actually utilize transit to reduce congestion during construction. So we've got a program there that we're looking at. Is there a way? Can we offer incentives for people to ride transit to reduce congestion and during the construction, so there's less vehicles on it? And we're studying that right now. So that's one thing that we're looking at, because as I said, mobility is important. People need to get where they need to get, and so we want to see what we can do there. And then we're also looking at how are we going to what's the best way to maintain local movements when the freeway's under construction, both the bridge construction or the construction in general, and how that's going to affect people. How can we make sure people can get where they need to be, even around their neighborhoods? So we're working with local agencies and with governmental agencies right now to make sure that we're doing the best that we can for residents and neighbors of the project also.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. All right. Well, listen, I think we've run out of questions, but we want to make sure that if any questions should come to mind, if you have any issue during construction, any questions during construction, again, I'm going to repeat our contacts who will be on the ground to assist and to answer any questions. We will also be posting this presentation online at the I-94 project website there. So that's the I-94 project website at i94detroit.org. I want to thank our presenters. Thank you. And I want to thank our attendees, our residents who came out this evening to hear about the I-94 project. Again, should you have any questions, please contact Victor Judnick at 248-249-1084 or Andrea Wilcox at 313-965-6350. And all the information, again, will be posted on the I-94 website. Well, that concludes our public meeting for this evening for the I-94 modernization project. Again, on behalf of the entire MDOT I-94 project team, we would like to thank you and thank you for coming out. And also, please, thank you, Joanne. Please don't hesitate to reach out and contact us if you have any questions. With that, I bid you all a good evening. Please stay safe, and until we meet again, thank you.